In one of the attic rooms sat a woman. She looked so familiar, achingly familiar. Her lips pressed together, eyes lifted toward the sky, as if searching for something beyond the clouds. Who was she? Who was I? Across a vast desolate land, the sky hung dim and heavy, reeking of blood as though a war had once raged there. A woman streaked through the air in panic, her face pale, her gaze darting back. Behind her, a cultivator with lecherous eyes pursued unhurriedly. In that moment of peril, she caught sight of a man hidden upon the earth below, someone strangely familiar. Who was she? Who was he? And who was I? Mist rolled like a sea, cloaking a simple cave mansion. Inside, a man sat cross-legged, locked in the most crucial moment of core formation. At the entrance, the woman stood trembling with fear, yet her eyes shone with determination. Before her, cultivators unleashed their arts, battering the protective formation, trying to break inside. She gritted her teeth, weaving counter-formations with every shred of strength she had, until her body gave way. Just as she collapsed, she found herself caught in the warmth of a strong chest. "I'll take you to kill them." The words pierced the heavens, forging a bond that tied two lives together forever. Who was she? Who was he? Who was I? Beneath a sky as blue as jade, a familiar yet estranged sect stood. Inside a quiet attic, the woman rested her hands on a zither, her sorrowful music echoing across heaven and earth. She seemed about to be wed. Yet, as she stepped out to face her fate, a man appeared before her, his cultivation towering, his presence overwhelming. That gentle smile froze her in place. She longed to know, who was he? Who was she? And who was she herself? A ray of gentle sunlight bathed the secluded valley. In a wooden cabin, warmth lingered in the air, and joyous zither notes flowed out. The woman leaned against the man beside her, gazing tenderly into his eyes, happiness softening her face. She seemed so content, yet again, the question echoed, who was she? Who was he? Who was I? She tried to remember, but the memories slipped away into haze, as if she had been asleep for an eternity. Then the tender scene fractured. Cracks split through it, crumbling into chaos beneath a storm-darkened sky. A man clutched a woman in his arms, tears streaming down his face as he let out a roar that shook the heavens. His cry carried unbearable grief, yet also a vow. Heaven may decree your death, but I will steal you back. Within the Daogu imperial city, in a lavish palace chamber, a woman lay upon a silken bed. She was not strikingly beautiful, but her features were gentle, pleasing. Now her face was pale, her lashes trembling as if trapped in a nightmare, struggling to awaken. From the corner of her eye, unnoticed tears trickled down, soaking the snow-white pillow. In her dream, that anguished roar still echoed, a defiance against heaven, a rebellion against fate, a voice that dared to challenge all of existence. The sound drew more tears from her eyes. Yet she could not remember. Who was this woman? Who was the man whose cry tore through her soul? She wanted to recall, but even her own identity slipped away from her grasp. Within the haze of the dream, she glimpsed him again. Countless years gone by, he stood beside a coffin, stroking its surface, leaning his face tenderly upon it. His gentleness ached in her chest. His tears dripping onto the coffin pained her heart. She felt a desperate urge to open her eyes, to touch his face, to wipe away those tears. But the dream shattered. The woman vanished, the man dissolved into mist, and all blurred into nothingness. Her eyes opened. "You're awake," a soft voice sounded beside her. She stared at the intricate carvings on the bed frame, confusion clouding her gaze. The dream still lingered faintly, yet already blurred. Turning toward the voice, she saw a man with long hair, clad in an imperial robe. Though middle-aged, his features were still handsome, and his noble bearing shone through. He looked at her with a smile. "You, who are you, who am I?" The confusion in her eyes deepened. A sharp pain tore through her mind, cutting off her memories, as if some unseen force forbade her from knowing herself. "I am the Daogu Imperial Venerable, the supreme sovereign of the Dao ancient lineage. I am your husband. And you, your name is Song Ji of the primordial ancient bloodline, you are my empress." His smile broadened, and with his words, the aura of a ruler radiated from him. Husband. At those words, another figure immediately surfaced in the woman's mind, a figure throwing back his head, howling in agony. That same figure had once sat with her, listening as she played joyful melodies on the zither. That same figure had held her close, whispering words by her ear, words about leading her to kill. That figure, now blurred, seemed to overlap with the man before her in the imperial robe. Slowly, they merged, yet the feeling was jarring, out of place. Even as they overlapped, they soon separated again. The stabbing pain in her mind returned. The woman squeezed her eyes shut, and in torment, fell unconscious. Tell me, why is this happening? The man in the imperial robe darkened, his voice low and cold. Your Majesty, a voice answered, after the Empress fused with the soul, her body was left weakened. Her original soul has already entwined with your Majesty's residual soul during the fusion, which is why she now suffers from this chaos of memory. But it matters not. With rest, she will slowly recover. Her memories, however, will remain confused, and that is a blessing in disguise. Your Majesty may plant new memories within her, let them gradually grow, until they become her true memories. This body is well suited to the soul. It can slowly nurture it. Within a few short years, the soul will fully merge with this body. By then, even if the residual soul's true body were to appear, it could no longer reclaim her. Behind the man, space rippled and twisted, revealing an old man. He dropped to one knee and spoke with reverence. You may leave, the man in the imperial robe said slowly. The old man bowed, turned into a wisp of smoke, and vanished, leaving only the Daogu Imperial Venerable and the unconscious woman in the room. He sat beside her, eyes gleaming with a strange light. The National Master once said this residual soul could make me the true ancient emperor who unites the three ancient clans. His divinations never err. Thus, to make this woman my empress is the greatest reward I can bestow. Murmuring, he raised his right hand, gently caressing her unconscious face, a smile spreading across his lips. She may not be beautiful, yet she carries a certain charm. I do not know where the National Master obtained this residual soul, he refuses to speak of it. But surely, in life, she was a beauty. Perhaps she had a lover. Perhaps that lover mourned bitterly after her death. Yet he will never know that she now lies in my hands. If I could ever discover who that lover was, to see him with my own eyes, that would be most amusing. Perhaps he is long dead. But if he yet lives, and one day they were to meet again, would he recognize her? His smile deepened. I would like to see that, though I doubt such a day will ever come. Shaking his head, he pinched her cheek lightly, leaving a bruise. Her body trembled. Even in her unconscious state, she seemed to feel the pain. A tear slid from the corner of her closed eye. If not for the rule that an imperial empress must remain untouched until her enthronement, I would make her mine this very moment. But there is no rush. After the ceremony, I shall savor the wonder of her soul fused with this body. With a smile, he rose, sleeves billowing, and left the chamber. As her tears fell, far below Ancient Path Mountain, Wang Lin lifted his gaze toward the summit, his eyes cold and sharp. The Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable clearly gave him no recognition. But Wang Lin himself gave no recognition to the Gu clan either. Among them, there was only one he respected, Xian Luo. Without Xian Luo, Wang Lin would never have come here. 300 steps. Behind him, the silhouette of the Grand Heavenly Venerable flared, radiating black and white light in boundless brilliance. Bathed in that light, Wang Lin lifted his foot and stepped forward. This step spanned not one stair, but dozens. When his foot came down, he stood upon the 39th step. A vast force thundered down from the mountain's peak, crashing upon him, pressing him as if countless peaks weighed upon his shoulders. In his vision, the stairway to the summit twisted, alive, undulating like a dragon. With a cold snort, the heavenly venerable sun's outline behind him flared even brighter, blanketing the heavens. Amidst storm and shifting skies, Wang Lin stepped forward again, leaping upward. 42nd step. 57th. 69th. 83rd. The roar filled his ears without end. Under crushing pressure, he pressed on, resolute, until he reached the 99th step. Lifting his right foot, he brought it down fiercely on the 100th. The instant it landed, heaven and earth roared. Ancient Path Mountain itself seemed to quake. A tremendous weight of power descended upon him, striking his body, shaking his soul, and drawing blood to his lips. That crushing force came from the mountain itself. From the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable. The one who had climbed the most in the past was a Grand Heavenly Venerable from the Immortal clan, named Eastern Expanse. He failed at the 600th step, leaving behind something before the true body ordered him to depart. As for you, let me see how many steps you can ascend. The cold, ancient voice echoed through heaven and earth at the very moment Wang Lin's foot landed on the 100th step. With the voice's appearance, the staircase leading toward the mountain peak suddenly shifted. The steps transformed into the form of a flood dragon. Its massive body, pitch black, took shape within heaven and earth. With a thunderous roar, it summoned a violent gale and lunged straight toward Wang Lin. A foul stench rushed against his face, borne on the storm winds, as though it wished to halt his advance. In the blink of an eye, the flood dragon loomed before him on the 100th step. Wang Lin's eyes flickered. Though his face was pale, he showed no sign of retreat. Lifting his gaze, he suddenly raised his right hand. With a grasp at the void, the outline of the Grand Heavenly Venerable behind him shrank slightly. Black and white light surged and gathered into his palm, creating a bizarre scene. The palm of his right hand gleamed white, while the back glowed black. At the instant the flood dragon came to devour him, Wang Lin pressed his palm forward. The two forces collided. Heaven and earth thundered. The flood dragon's body trembled violently and let out a chilling scream. Its massive head instantly shattered, and the collapse spread across its entire body with visible speed. Within moments, the entire flood dragon disintegrated, dissolving into ash and scattering into nothingness. At the same time, the staircase to the summit stopped twisting and returned to its original form, as though the earlier scene had been nothing more than an illusion. Wang Lin coughed up a mouthful of blood. As the dragon collapsed, his right hand also dissolved into nothingness. But under swirling black mist, a new arm quickly reformed. Yet his right foot, struck by the immense force when his hand had clashed with the dragon, felt as if countless mountains had crashed upon it. The pressure forced his leg back, about to land once more on the 99th step. If it fell, he would fail to stand on the 100th step. At that critical instant, Wang Lin let out a furious roar. Explosive sounds echoed from his body as his ancient clan physique forcefully endured the crushing power. His right leg suddenly shifted direction, and with a violent motion, he stomped down, not on the 99th, but firmly on the 100th step. Drawing a deep breath, Wang Lin sensed faintly that after stepping onto the 100th step, his cultivation's immortal power and his ancient clan strength showed signs of merging. The realization stirred his heart. Silently, he moved forward again. His pace was unhurried, 10 steps at a time, but each step caused Ancient Path Mountain to rumble with thunderous echoes. Beyond the 100th step, the oppressive force from the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable doubled. By the 150th step, Wang Lin's body was trembling uncontrollably. He could advance no further and was forced to halt. At the mountain peak, within the tower's uppermost floor, Xianluo looked down at Wang Lin. Pain filled his eyes. He had already made his decision. If Wang Lin failed, he would defy the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable and take him away. He came because of me, entered the Gu clan because of me. I must take him away. Xianluo remained silent, resolute. He cannot pass the 200th step. Xianluo, leave this disciple behind. From within the mist behind him, the indistinct figure's cold voice drifted forth. But before Xianluo could respond, Wang Lin let out a low growl. Behind him, the outline of the Heavenly Venerable Sun suddenly began to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. With its collapse, Wang Lin lifted his head sharply and stepped onto the 160th step. He did not pause. Step by step, the Heavenly Venerable Sun behind him continued to contract, transforming into endless power that merged into his body. With its strength, Wang Lin pressed on, past the 170th step, the 180, the 190, until at last, as the heavenly venerable sun vanished entirely, he set foot on the 200th step. At that moment, from within the mist of the mountaintop tower, the indistinct figure let out a soft sound of surprise. Xianluo's eyes blazed, and for the first time, a smile appeared upon his face. Burning the heavenly venerable sun to gain the strength to step onto the 200th step, it is a method. But how will he walk the final 100? The hazy figure's voice sounded slowly. On Ancient Path Mountain, the moment Wang Lin's foot landed upon the 200th step, one of the 4 massive stone pillars encircling the summit tower stirred. Upon its northern pillar sat a gray-robed figure who had kept his eyes closed from the beginning. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, flashing with a gray light. His body quivered once, and then he vanished without a trace. When he appeared, it was upon the steps themselves. Striding toward Wang Lin, his wide sleeve swept out as his right hand lifted. His face bore no expression at all, as if he wore a mask of human skin. As he drew near, he extended a single finger toward Wang Lin. That finger fell, and the world itself shifted. In that instant, the heavens seemed torn open, a massive rift yawning across the sky. The earth quaked, and Ancient Path Mountain shook violently. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. In his eyes, this finger carried the might of a grand heavenly venerable. This gray-clad man with the mask-like face, he actually wields the power of a grand heavenly venerable. Who is he? Wang Lin had no time to think. The finger was already descending, aiming straight for the space between his brows. If struck, even with his Gu clan body, he could not endure. It would mean utter annihilation, body and soul. At the brink of crisis, the power he had absorbed within himself along the climb from the 150th step to the 200th, the outline of the heavenly venerable sun, erupted inside him. His cultivation roared to life, his origin source flaring. 99 shadowy illusions manifested around his body. His right hand shot up, and he hurled a sudden punch toward that descending finger. With this punch, a Tao ancient phantom rose behind him. Ancient god, ancient demon, and ancient devil all coalesced into form, each striking in unison. Above that phantom, a golden figure appeared, its shape indistinct, but radiating pure immortal aura, twined together with the power of the Gu clan. That, too, clenched into a fist. From Wang Lin's own body surged thick black mists, steeped in slaughter and madness, laced with lightning. They condensed into a fist of slaughter thunder and smashed forward. The thunderous detonation echoed ceaselessly across Ancient Path Mountain, shaking the heavens and spreading in all directions. The gray-clad man's fingertip collapsed. His body swayed, yet he did not retreat. He only cast Wang Lin a profound look, then turned, ascending toward the mountain's peak. The next instant, he vanished from Wang Lin's sight and reappeared atop the northern pillar of the high tower. Sitting cross-legged, he closed his eyes once more. Blood sprayed from Wang Lin's lips. The Tao ancient phantom behind him dispersed, along with the golden shadow of immortal aura. His breathing was ragged, but he stood firm upon the 200th step. In that moment, he clearly felt it. Within him, the power of the Gu clan and the immortal cultivation were fusing together in an impossible way. Forced by the mountain's overwhelming pressure, they condensed into one. Whether immortal heavenly supreme or transcendent heavenly venerable, none may tread upon my Ancient Path Mountain. Only grand heavenly venerables may do so. To stand upon the 200th step means you already hold the initial power of a grand heavenly venerable. Go on. Let me see whether you can reach the 300th step. The cold voice echoed through Wang Lin's labored breaths. Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable, he is my disciple. The sudden roar of Xianluo erupted from the mountain peak. At the same time, a rainbow streak of light shot from the tower and descended beside Wang Lin, transforming into Xianluo. I brought him here, and I will take him away. Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable, I, Xianluo, have devoted my entire life to the Tao ancient lineage. For endless ages, I have never sought personal gain, never voiced complaint, my heart has always been for the Gu clan. But today, I beg you, ancient path grand heavenly venerable. Allow me to take my disciple away. Xianluo raised his head, staring toward the peak. He spoke each word with solemn resolve. The mountaintop fell silent. After a long while, the cold voice softened, if only slightly. Xianluo, when you first became a grand heavenly venerable, I wished to take you as my disciple and have you remain here on Ancient Path Mountain. Yet you chose to guard the Tao ancient lineage, unwilling to stay. All these countless ages, I have seen the devotion in your actions. This is your first plea, and I will grant it. But it will also be the last. Xianluo's expression grew complex. Bowing deeply toward the towering peak, he moved to carry away the weakened Wang Lin. Master, your disciple can still go on. Wang Lin drew a deep breath, straightening his body. Worry filled Xianluo's eyes. Master, the pressure of these steps is the finest place for me to cultivate. I want to keep climbing. Wang Lin's gaze shone with determination. He bowed once more to Xianluo, then turned sharply and strode toward the 201st step. As his foot fell, his body groaned under the unbearable strain. Yet his eyes blazed brightly. The power of the Gu clan exists in me through my bloodline. My immortal cultivation exists through the origin source. But the two have never fused. Back in the abode realm, I once tried to merge them, but failed. They were utterly incompatible, scattered within me. But here, there is no better place to attempt immortal and ancient fusion. The ancient path grand heavenly venerable is the foremost figure of the immortal firmament continent today. His pressure is the greatest aid for immortal and ancient fusion. Wang Lin was determined to step once more onto the stone platform, driven by the rare chance he had sensed within the first 200 steps, a fleeting opportunity to fuse his immortal ancient power. For him, this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. The oppressive might from Ancient Path Mountain descended again the instant his foot landed on the next step. It struck like a thunderclap, forming an indescribable weight that crashed against his body. The pressure before and after the 200th step was vastly different. Before, it had been like raging waves, forcing Wang Lin to burn the outline of his heavenly venerable son just to grit his teeth and push forward. But now, it was no longer just waves, it was the full force of the entire sea, roaring and battering against him. One step alone drained him to the brink. His face turned deathly pale, his body trembled, and blood spilled ceaselessly from the corner of his mouth. His bones creaked under the strain, flesh felt as if it were being torn apart, his essence spirit on the verge of shattering, his soul close to being erased. He was like a lone boat adrift on the sea, fragile, powerless before the might of the ocean. And yet, Wang Lin did not retreat. Even knowing each step carried immense peril, he refused to yield. This was the rarest of opportunities, the chance he had sought ever since his failure with the immortal and ancient fusion. Perhaps this was his final chance. If he gave up now, he would not only lose this opportunity, but a shadow would linger in his heart forever. A shadow of fear toward the ancient path grand heavenly venerable, that overwhelming existence he could not resist. Such fear, festering long-term, would cripple his Tao. Ancient path grand heavenly venerable. I will walk all 300 steps. Wang Lin's expression twisted in pain. His body screamed to cry out, yet he forcibly swallowed the urge, burying it within himself as he took a second step. The moment his foot fell, his mind thundered, his body shook more violently than before, but amid the agony, he clearly sensed his immortal clan origin cultivation and the power of the ancient clan within him being forced together by the crushing pressure. Normally, such fusion met with violent rejection. Without this suppression from Ancient Path Mountain, he would have had no way to resist it, and the immortal and ancient fusion would once again fail. But now, the mountain's might itself subdued the rejection. Struggling, Wang Lin pushed forward, third step, fourth, fifth, sixth. His body trembled, yet a shocking resilience burned within him, straightening his spine, giving him the strength to lift his head against any foe. Seventh, eighth. By the time he set foot on the 208th step, veins bulged across his face, and his body groaned with a chorus of cracking noises, as if his very bones were grinding together. Yet his eyes still shone with unyielding resolve. He could feel his immortal ancient power fusing ever more rapidly beneath the crushing weight, changing subtly with each moment. Ancient body outside, origin cultivation within. Immortal and ancient as one, fused into a single form. Wang Lin suddenly lifted his foot again. 9th step. 10th step. He landed on the 210th step. The instant his foot fell, his origin source and ancient clan power melded further. Under the mounting external pressure, a sliver of true fusion finally emerged. That single thread of fused power, it was both immortal power and ancient power, and yet it was something uniquely his own. At the moment this power appeared, the sky itself transformed, startling Xianluo and making the figure within the mist at the top of the tower suddenly open his eyes wide. The heavens shifted in an instant. The once blue skies turned to radiant gold, brilliance pouring outward in all directions. In the blink of an eye, 100,000 miles of sky became entirely golden. That golden sky could be seen from afar, breathtaking and shocking. This golden radiance was not the result of spells or divine arts. In all the lands of the ancient clan, such a phenomenon, natural, unforced, had never before been seen. Xianluo snapped his head upward, his pupils reflecting the golden brilliance. Beneath this golden sky, the earth of the ancient clan turned utterly black. The mountains and lands themselves seemed to dissolve into endless darkness. One glance at that darkness was enough to make the heart shudder. This was 9 melodies in 3 phases. The first phase, golden sky and black earth. Xianluo drew in a sharp breath. 9 melodies in 3 phases. This was the celestial phenomenon that marked the births of the immortal progenitor and the ancient ancestor. The 9 melodies belonged to the ancient, while the 3 phases belonged to the immortal. From ancient times to the present, apart from the birth of the ancient ancestor and the immortal progenitor, such a vision had never appeared again within the vast heavens. Yet now, it manifested atop ancient Path Mountain. Golden sky and black earth spread outward, radiating a strange and indescribable aura, casting the surroundings into an uncanny stillness. Wang Lin stood before it all as though blind to the spectacle. In his mind, there was only one unshakable belief: to climb to the 300th step, and in the process, to achieve his immortal and ancient fusion. At the very instant the golden sky and black earth appeared, Wang Lin lifted his right foot and stepped onto the 211th stair. The oppressive might surging from ancient Path Mountain roared over him, making his body feel countless times heavier. Yet without the slightest hesitation, he took another step forward. The 212th step, the 213th, the 14th, all the way to the 19th. With each step, Wang Lin's body trembled violently. His strength waned, even his essence, spirit and soul quivered under the pressure, on the verge of collapse. The moment he set foot on the 219th stair, his body exploded with a thunderous boom, yet in the midst of destruction, he dissolved into countless black threads. Those threads scattered, then surged together at blinding speed, reforming into his body once more. He had chosen to forcibly use the power of slaughter to sustain this fusion. So long as his essence spirit endured and his soul did not perish, he could repeat this process again and again. But under this crushing pressure, even 1,000 or 10,000 fusions would prove futile, for in the end, both his essence spirit and his soul would perish beneath the weight. Yet this same mortal peril was also the greatest catalyst for immortal and ancient fusion. In that endless cycle of collapse and rebirth, Wang Lin unleashed a sky-shaking roar. Lifting his foot once more, he set it down resolutely on the 220th stair. Booms reverberated madly through heaven and earth. On that single step, his body shattered dozens of times, dissolving into black mist and recondensing again and again. At last, when his form stabilized, he stood firmly upon the stair. At the instant he steadied himself, the stillness of the golden sky and black earth was pierced by a sound. At first faint and unclear, it soon echoed between the golden heavens and the black earth, growing sharper and sharper. It was the sound of wind. Yet there was no wind here, no breeze stirred. And still, the mournful wail of wind resounded, circling endlessly, like a strand of the heavenly wind melody. The very moment that melody swirled through the sky, Xianluo's expression shifted. Around the 4 pillars encircling the tower at the mountain's peak, 4 gray-robed figures seated cross-legged opened their eyes in unison. They lifted their gazes toward the heavens, their eternally calm expressions now altered. In the mist at the very top of the tower, the shadowed figure who had earlier opened his eyes when the golden sky and black earth emerged murmured softly after a long silence. Heavenly Wind Melody, the first tone of the 9 melodies. Within Wang Lin's body, the immortal ancient power born of fusion grew stronger, a new strand emerging. This strand did not flow but instead sank into silence, slowly swelling as the fusion deepened. And yet Wang Lin could feel it, this power was something beyond the immortal ancient, beyond what he could fathom. It was the strength he had longed to fuse with, the regret of his failure years ago. He heard the wind's voice, circling heaven and earth. It seemed to praise, to lament, yet the words within the sound of wind were indistinct to him. It was like the murmurs within the heaven-defying beat, sounds he could never quite grasp. Exhaustion weighed upon him, but Wang Lin pressed on, step by step, toward the distant heights of Ancient Path Mountain. From the 220th stair upward, nearly every 2 steps brought collapse, his body unraveled into black threads, only to coalesce again. Yet his essence, spirit and soul were wearing thin, nearing the brink of what they could endure. He was approaching the very limit of his life. Step after step, until, on the 230th stair, Wang Lin spat a mouthful of blood. It splattered across the stair, glaringly vivid. Almost in that same instant, as his blood struck the stone, the heavenly wind melody swirling through the heavens was joined by a second sound. Thunder. Rolling peals roared in all directions, shaking the world. This thunder was more than noise, it carried a profound cadence, a rhythm, as if it were the thunder voice of the heavenly Tao itself. The thunder blended with the wind, storm and gale intertwining. Within the golden sky and black earth, it was as though 10,000 warhorses thundered past. At the birth of the ancient ancestor, the 9 melodies rang out. Should all 9 appear, when joined, they become the melody of birth. Since ancient times, it has been said, when the 9 melodies in 3 phases arise together upon the immortal firmament continent, the successors of the ancient ancestor and the immortal progenitor shall emerge. Xian Luo's eyes fixed upon Wang Lin, upon his own disciple. For the first time, he could no longer see him clearly. On him, back in the abode realm. I saw silver eyes. This was only a rumor, whispered across the immortal firmament continent. Could it be him? Xian Luo's expression grew dazed. The events of this day left him struggling to believe. The second melody, thunder voice of the heavenly Tao. The third melody, the cloud flute of the mortal realm. From the golden sky, strands of white cloud drifted forth. Out of them, the flute's sound slowly rose, gentle and distant, seeping into the heart and mind. It calmed the spirit, as though lulling one into slumber. When Wang Lin set foot on the 240th step, the flute's song spiraled through heaven and earth. The sound was too wondrous for any living being to play. It came from the clouds themselves, pierced through by the wind, leaving countless tiny holes that breathed out the melody. Blended with the heavenly wind melody, it became music of breathtaking beauty. Thunder, like a giant drum, joined in perfect harmony. The sound enthralled all who heard. Xian Luo, immersed, closed his eyes in silence. On the 4 gray pillars surrounding the high tower, the gray-robed figures listened quietly, faces touched with longing and memory. From the shrouded figure in the tower's mist came only a sigh when the music began. Wang Lin stood motionless on the 240th step, listening to the music born of wind, thunder, and cloud. It entered his heart, wrapping his essence, spirit and soul in warmth, slowly nourishing them. Wounds inside and out, carried with each step he had taken, were healed as if by miracle. Within him, the power of immortal and ancient fusion grew slightly stronger, though it remained dormant, lying in silence. Time passed. Light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. Under the spell of that music, he lifted his foot and walked onward, step after steady step. His expression was no longer twisted with pain but calm and clear. The bloodshot in his eyes faded. With composed determination, he advanced. Golden sky became his light. Black earth his road. Thunder is drum. The heavenly wind is accompaniment. The cloud flute is companion. Surrounded by these, Wang Lin walked firmly up the stairway until he reached the 250th step. The moment his foot landed, within that realm of golden sky and black earth, among the melodies of wind, thunder, and cloud, another sound appeared. A new note entered the song, the rushing, pattering rhythm of rain. It fell from the heavens, striking the earth. The rain's murmur entwined with the cloud flute's lingering tones. The melody grew more enchanting, carrying the faint breath of revival, as though all creation were stirring back to life. Xianluo opened his eyes. He gazed at Wang Lin, exhaling a deep breath. With his cultivation in his station, little could truly shake him. Yet now, stirred by the fourth of the 9 melodies, his heart was not without ripples. Ancient path grand heavenly venerable. You never acknowledged his existence. But now, what do you think? Or perhaps my disciple, Wang Lin, who bears the soul blood, perhaps he will acknowledge you instead. Xianluo's eyes moved past Wang Lin, still climbing, to the high tower atop Ancient Path Mountain. His thoughts remained unspoken. The tower's summit stayed silent. After that single sigh, the figure in the mist closed his eyes again, lost in the melody. His veiled face seemed marked with sorrow and remembrance. Wang Lin paused briefly on the 250th step. Listening to the rainfall, he let himself sink into it for a moment before climbing again. On the 260th step, he heard the voice of the sky itself. Subtle and elusive, for the heavens should be soundless. Yet now there was a faint whisper, like a gentle chant, flowing down from above. It merged with the heavenly wind melody, the thunder voice of the heavenly Tao, the cloud flute of the mortal realm, and the rain that nourishes all things. At the instant this melody arose, the immortal ancient power within Wang Lin, born under the pressure of Ancient Path Mountain, began to stir. It was slow, painfully slow, as if a full cycle through his body might take forever. Yet Wang Lin felt no impatience. Beneath the 5th melody of 9, warmth filled him inside and out, as though endless strength lay within reach. In that presence, the drop of soul blood from the ancient ancestor within his body began to melt. That very soul blood was what Xianluo once begged the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable to awaken, only to be refused. Wang Lin kept walking, step by steady step. When he set foot on the 270th step, all of his origin sources suddenly dissolved. In that instant, his body held no origin at all. Yet his eyes shone with silver light. In their glow, his gaze itself turned to silver. It seemed utterly devoid of emotion, cold to the extreme. Even the black of his pupils had turned silver. The moment those silver eyes appeared, an indescribable aura spread from Wang Lin's body. It was the very same aura Xianluo had once sensed in the abode realm, an aura where all emptiness was annihilated. When that aura surfaced, Xianluo's gaze grew complicated. In the 9 melodies and 3 phases, the silver eyes are a shared trait. The ancient ancestors' 9 melodies can transform, and the second phase among the 3 appearances also lies within these eyes. Around the tall tower, the 4 gray-clad figures slowly withdrew their gazes from the sky, fixing them once again on Wang Lin. They stared at the silver in his eyes, their own gaze turning vacant, hollow, as though their minds were being drawn away. It was as if those silver eyes carried a strange allure. As for the mist-shrouded figure within the tower, after a long silence, a voice finally echoed across heaven and earth. The 9 melodies in 3 phases, on you, 5 melodies in 2 phases have appeared. Step forward. If you can ascend 300 steps, I will awaken your soul blood and grant you an audience. The voice remained cold and detached. Standing on the 270th step, Wang Lin gave no reply. He simply raised his foot and continued upward. When he reached the 280th step, the ancient clan power within him suddenly melted away. As it dissolved, beyond the existing 5 melodies of heaven and earth, a new melody arose, music of the earth. From the blackened ground came a desolate funeral dirge. The dirge echoed mysteriously, circling unendingly, its sorrow clear as if mourning the dead. Intertwining with the melody of heaven, it embodied life and death, merging with the sounds of storm and thunder, it became a requiem beyond compare. The 9 melodies in 3 phases. I've heard of it before. Now it seems, 6 melodies in 2 phases have appeared. In silence, Wang Lin felt his origin, cultivation and ancient clan power dissolving within him, not lost, but fusing deeper into his very being. What he could now sense was a new force, born of immortal and ancient fusion. This power flowed sluggishly, perhaps requiring years or even decades to complete a single cycle. He lifted his foot again, using the oppressive might from Ancient Path Mountain to ascend the 281st step. Step by step he moved forward. By the time he reached the 290th step, he clearly felt that the flow within his body had grown slightly faster. At the same time, he sensed the lingering traces of the dissolved origin and ancient clan power. They now resided within his essence spirit and his organs, the origin within his essence spirit, and the ancient clan power within his 5 viscera. Neither fully merged nor fully separate, yet vastly different from before. And when Wang Lin set foot on the 290th step, heaven and earth gained yet another melody. This one, however, only Wang Lin could hear. It was the sound of his own body. It was a body melody, the sound born from every tilt of his head, every swing of his arms, every step he took, every breath, and every subtle shift of his pores. Though faint, these sounds merged with the music of heaven and earth, weaving into a soft resonance that spread around him. So this is the 7th melody. After listening for a moment, Wang Lin suddenly raised his head, his eyes blazing as he fixed his gaze on the tower atop Ancient Path Mountain. You once said that I, Wang, could not pass 300 steps? He raised his foot, and in a single stride crossed 10 steps, landing firmly on the 300th step. In that instant, 2 of the grey-robed figures on the 4 pillars surrounding the tower lost their vacant stares. Their eyes flashed with a chilling light as if their minds had been restored. Cold intent flickered, and their bodies blurred before lunging forward as one. Midair, their figures overlapped, merging into a single being who charged at Wang Lin like lightning. In a flash, the fused figure closed in, unleashing a punch. That fist carried a billowing gray mist, within which loomed the shadow of a colossal head, roaring silently with madness as it hurtled toward Wang Lin. Boom! Boom! Sounds erupted instantly from within Wang Lin's body. They were like heartbeats, but in truth, it was the 8th melody formed from his 5 viscera. The melody of the 5 organs. It was the contraction of his lungs, the pounding of his heart, the pulsing of his spleen, the trembling of his liver, and the surge of his kidneys, all fused together into a symphony of the viscera. Entwined with his body melody, interwoven with the storm's roar, tangled with the song of life and death, it erupted as the sound of 8 melodies. Amidst the simultaneous rotation of the 8 melodies, the power of the ancient clan within Wang Lin's internal organs suddenly erupted, rapidly spreading and merging into the very flesh and blood of his body. At the same time, the primal force within his essence spirit also stirred, permeating through every meridian within Wang Lin's body. As these 2 forces spread and converged, for the first time, they completely fused within Wang Lin's body, forming a massive immortal and ancient fusion force. Within him, this force surged at an unimaginable speed, accelerating the cycle that would normally take decades to complete, completing a full rotation in an instant. This power, neither immortal nor ancient, roared within Wang Lin after completing the cycle, transforming into a low growl from his throat. Get out of my way!